how much of this represents the ability of the Dunmar people to build giant structures, and how much of it represents the power of Vivec himself. But what we can see is that they're all identical from the outside. And in a way that's how Vivec treats his people, and that's how the temple treats its people. Like they try to impose a sort of an identity on the Dunmar people, which don't really fit them. I mean, if we go inside each one, we'll see that they're different on the inside. Let's go... oops, wrong way. Let's go up. So even though the Tribunal Temple and Lord Vivec, they're native to Morrowind. Oh, that's an alternator, by the way. One of the police. Like, there's all these tensions between the different factions. And then different identities of the game. So this is the arena. So I guess this is a special case. An arena, fighting, there's a sword over there. So nothing that special. I mean, it's just a giant pit, as arenas tend to be. This is Red Run, inside the Red Run Plaza. It looks like that. So there's a... I mean, I don't know why they need walls inside another structure, but okay. So that's the manor, and I think these are houses. Oh, that's a manor. Well, obviously that one's a lot bigger than that one. That's the treasury. It's another manor. So I don't know, maybe that's supposed to represent these guys maybe are richer and more powerful than these guys, maybe. But it's the, you know, you can see the, it looks like a fortress, and it looks like a, you know, it's fairly militaristic, like the Ridderan themselves. Now if we go to the Telvanni Tower, or the Telvanni Canton, jumping is faster than running, by the way, in this game. So the Telvanni, what was that? The plaza, that's right. So a similar situation, temporary Telvanni housing. That's for the poor people, or maybe just visitors. Upper storage.
3 blessings.
Residents, so they're not even manors. But you have these mushrooms. And you have a mage tower, even though obviously it's quite squat compared to the giant mushroom towers, you know, as it was noted in that document, and it's a different architectural style.
I don't know if I can help you, but I'll try.
But nevertheless, we have the Mage Lord up here. And again, you know, everything is revolving around him. And he's the best dressed character in the whole building.
Do I know you?
So yeah, once again, the circle,
What is this about?
the centralized arrangement with the tower in the middle, and all the people serving him. So you know, each of the great house will modify their canton to suit their culture, but you know, on the outside they all look the same. And maybe the temple wants them to just stay in line and not deviate too much from temporal doctrine, which they do. I guess that's pretty much all there is to Vivec. I mean, I can show you more parts of the different buildings, but the general style of the architecture and the general layout of the towns, that pretty much sums it up. I don't think... Well, let's go to the Lalu Canton and then go to the foreign quarter. So, House Halalu? Their plaza looks like that. A little bit like Balmoral. So as you can see, there isn't a dominating structure. Neither the manor nor the tower of the Redoran and the Tavani, and in fact the buildings in the middle are shops. So the alchemist on one side and the general goods on the other. And there are other shops here as well. Pawnbroker. So interestingly, their most important buildings are shops. Which is not surprising because, you know, there are merchants. Merchants and traders and whatnot. So let's just fly over there for... Oops. Wow, fail. We'll save ourselves the walking. If you... I don't know if I want to spoil too much of this game, but if you haven't played the game and you're wondering what that spell is, it's a levitation spell. Most levitation spells actually is quite difficult to cast. So that, I only have a 57% chance of casting it successfully. But what you do is you buy a levitation spell, and then you make a custom one that's only levitate 1 point, which makes it a lot easier to cast. Anyway. And levitation obviously gets you to places you can't otherwise go to. So in the foreign quarter, at the top is the Mages Guild and the Fighters Guild. Interestingly, and then you're never sure how much power the two guilds have. Ostensibly they don't have very much power. They're just, you know, groups of mages and mercenaries basically, but they're very large organizations and they have a lot of resources at their disposal. And in any place where the empire is not officially represented, these two guilds are nevertheless imperial institutions that have a presence. Anyway. So here there's like a little marketplace and you can buy stuff from them. You can see there, that's an alchemist, that's just a general goods store. Lower Wasteworks. So the cantons are separated into plazas, wasteworks, underworks. We'll go to the underworks later. You know, here there's more shops and things. I mean, there's not actually that many residential rooms and quarters. But you know, like many computer games, Canal Works, that's what it's called. Canal Works is at water level, I guess. Oh, that's the 3 demigods, by the way. That's Vivec. That's Almalexia, that's Sothis Sil. So the 3 of them stole power from a dead god, according to the story. So we're at water level. I'm not sure how those are supposed to function, but they look pretty cool. Clothing store, etc, etc. And the underworks are, I guess, the sewers maybe. And there are rats. And it's basically the same for all of the cantons. You have the plaza, the wasteworks, the canal works, and then the the underworld, so I don't know if he's hostile or not. They're like criminal groups and Daedra worshippers down here. Yeah, that's a Daedra shrine. Daedra are basically, well, they're considered the bad guys, but they're not necessarily evil, so to speak. They just don't care about people very much. Alright, so that's the city of Vivec. I can't think of too much else to say. In terms of the architecture, I mean, obviously,
How may I help you, citizen?
I mean, in terms of the plot and the characters, there's a lot of other things going on, but architecture-wise, I guess once again, you know, I think I've said this in the earlier videos, but I'll just keep repeating this throughout the whole series, I think. The main point is that the architecture is intertwined with the story, with the cultures, and with the politics of all of the different factions in the game.
Praise Vivec.
Yes, praise Vivec. And I think if you're making a computer game, or if you're designing any other sort of thing, if you're making a movie or designing any sort of architecture, even in the real world, even, I think if you want to make good architecture, you really need to consider how it relates to the people and the cultures and the locations and the context, you know. I mean, we've seen the different great houses. We've seen the Tavani, the Redra, and the Halalu. I mean, if you make a town of merchants and traders, and then you tell people there's a mage lord living there and he's a dictator and he doesn't, you know, he has absolute power over all the other people. Well, if the form of the city doesn't, you know, if it doesn't make sense, if the form of the city doesn't say what you are trying to say, then, you know, I don't know how many people would notice, but I would notice. And I think most people would get the feeling that something's not quite right, you know, if you try to... If the form of the city doesn't mesh well with the story you're trying to tell, I think most people would notice something's not quite right. Well, anyway, I hope people would notice, because then they're aware of what's going on and they know enough about architecture to be able to recognize any mistakes like that. Anyway, that's it for Vivec. What's next? I believe I would like to go to Peleagad. Peleagad? I don't know how to pronounce that. Peleagid? I don't. Anyway, and Caldera. So those are the next two places we're gonna visit. And there's no fast transport to those places, so I have to strider it up and then walk to those places, but that's alright. I'll see you guys in the next video.